Illuminated Bible Story Book for Young People by Elizabeth Morton. Printed in the U.S.A., copyright 1927, published by the John C. Winston Company, Chicago, Philadelphia, Toronto. Includes 20 colored illustrations. Today's story is The Prophet Who Healed the King. There was once a rich captain in Syria who was called Naaman. He was brave and strong and had won great victories for Syria. One time when his army was fighting in Israel, his soldiers carried off with them a little girl and brought her to Syria as a servant to the wife of Naaman. It must have been sad and lonely for the little girl, but the wife of Naaman was so kind to her that after a while she learned to love her mistress. When the little slave girl had been in Naaman's house for a while, she saw that there was a great trouble there. Naaman, her master, had a terrible disease called leprosy. No doctor or any priest had the power to cure Naaman of that dreadful disease. This little girl, though, she had been stolen from her home, had a kind heart, and she could not help feeling sorry for her master. One day she found her mistress looking very sad, and wishing to comfort her, she said to her, "If my master Naaman could only be with the prophet that lives in Samaria, he could cure him of his leprosy." No doubt the wife of Naaman hurried to tell her husband what the little girl of Israel had said. Naaman went at once to the king of Syria. Now the king loved Naaman very much, so much that when he went to worship in the temple of his idol, he chose to lean on the arm of Naaman rather than upon that of any other of his nobles. He was so anxious that his great captain should be cured that he said, "I shall send a letter to the king of Israel to ask him to let his prophet cure you." You see, neither the king nor Naaman understood about the prophet, and the king of Syria supposed that surely the king of Israel would and could order the prophet to cure whomsoever he wished. So Naaman, with a great many servants and a present of money and beautiful robes for the king, set out on his chariot and rode about 100 miles to the land of Israel. He came to the king of Israel and delivered the letter that the king of Syria had written. But when the king read the letter, he was troubled, for he knew that he could not cure Naaman's leprosy. "Am I God," he said, "that I can kill and then make alive again? Why should the king of Syria send this man to me? I cannot make him well. Surely the king is only trying to find an excuse to make war upon us." So the king of Israel tore his clothes, as it was the custom to do when in great trouble. Perhaps if he had been a true servant of God, he would have thought of Elisha, but he did not honor God's prophet. Fortunately, the prophet Elisha heard about the letter, and he said to the king, "Why are you so troubled? Send Naaman to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman and his servants left the beautiful palace of the king and stood at the prophet's door. Elisha did not go out, but sent his servant to tell Naaman that if he would go down to the river Jordan and dip himself 7 times, he would be cured of his disease. This made Naaman very angry, for he was a proud man and was offended because Elisha himself had not come out to speak with him. "I thought the prophet himself would come out to me and would pass his hand over the leper spot and call on the name of the Lord his God," he complained. "Are not the rivers of my own land cleaner than all the rivers of Israel? Could I not bathe in them and be cured of my disease?" And he turned angrily away and started back towards Syria. But Naaman's servants were wiser than he, for they knew that their master must obey the words of the prophet if he would be cured. One of them said to him, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much rather then when he said, 'Wash and be clean'?" Although Naaman was proud, he was wise enough to listen to his servants. He did go down to the Jordan, as Elisha had told him, and he dipped himself 7 times. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Then he hurried back to Elisha's house and thanked the prophet, saying, "Now I know that there is but one true God, the God of Israel." As he departed for his own land, He promised that he would never pray to any god, nor offer any sacrifices to any other god, but the true God who had healed him.